Hi, I'm here with Drew Whiting, partner and attorney with Axia Law. Drew, please tell us what kinds of activities you do for startups.
All right. Well, I guess it depends on who comes in the door, but the main thing that I try to do is get a feel for what kind of business I'm working with, where they are in the process of getting started, growing, and where they're heading. And I think the first thing that is important to do is get a feel for um, the risks that can come up with these businesses. Are there different partners involved? Do you have a business that's got some industry that they should be aware of certain intellectual property issues, regulatory issues? But I guess the first thing I do is an overall evaluation of what the business is and who the partners are.
Great. And what types of companies do you typically work with? Is there an industry focus?
It's a wide range. The other day I met with somebody starting a gym to somebody servicing a fleet of heavy-duty trucks, a proprietary trading company, and in the afternoon wrap things up with a restaurant. So it's a wide range of businesses, but what I do find is that the majority of small businesses in the growth stage that are looking for capital, looking to hire employees, they have a similar set of issues, and that is that things are changing. There's usually people or capital coming on board, and so the way that I can approach the problem is, in most cases, is a lot is similar with all of them. So that's what I try to do, is just kind of approach each one with kind of the same attitude, knowing that there's also differences that I need to address.
Sure. And tell us other ways that you create value for the startup companies that you work with.
I think the biggest way to create value, and it's completely necessary, because there's tens of thousands of lawyers in Chicago, and probably way too many across the country, and you hear every lawyer joke growing up and walking around the city. So how do you become the person that kind of beats that stereotype? And I think the way to do that is to be somebody who's a little bit more than just an attorney. And I try to differentiate myself by being a connector, helping companies that I work with and the individuals that I work with be surrounded by who I think are the best resources and put themselves in the best position to succeed, and not just be the guy that drafts a document and disappears for 4 weeks.
Great. And Drew, how do you introduce startups to funding sources?
Early on, I worked with a company that was funded and kind of realized that I needed to figure out where those funding sources were going to come from, and that would be the way that I would be able to drive my business. And I've worked pretty hard in the last year and a half to become involved in the community, to get to know who the angel investors and the smaller VCs and angel groups in the city are. And when I see a fit for one of those people or one of those groups, I need to have relationships that are intact, up to date, and I need to know what people are looking for from an investment standpoint and from an entrepreneurial standpoint. And when I do get something coming in the door, if it's biotech, life sciences, if it's a gym, if it's a food service company or some mobile app that somebody's working on, not only can I connect with them then with investors or potential opportunity to go and present somewhere, but also with possibly other entrepreneurs that they can collaborate with. And those people may have contacts with entrepreneurs. So it's just a matter of knowing what people want and what people are looking for.
Great. And what are some other common challenges you find that startups have from a legal perspective, and how do you overcome those?
Some of the biggest challenges, I think, are just being a natural entrepreneur. You have there are people who start in one direction and end up going in another, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. When I started this law firm, started a law firm about 16 months ago, I'd never foresaw meeting somebody and seeing opportunity and in a 1 + 1 = 3 situation, but I did, and I took it. You have to be opportunistic, and when that happens, sometimes things, if you're not prepared for it, or if you're just too busy because your head is in the weeds, so to say, you lose track of direction. So what I do a lot of times is I see companies who have started in one direction, and then from a liability standpoint, they have a company that's very successful, generating revenue, has a proof of concept, and that's the company that they're focused on, except it started in another company that's unrelated, a company that exposes the entire house to some significant risk. So just or muddies the waters and makes it really hard for somebody who may be a potential investor to come in and actually see what they're investing in and know that they've got this target, that they understand the liabilities, understand the picture. So either from a reorganization standpoint, if you're talking about cleaning up the capitalization of a company or restructuring a company so that the liability standpoint you've got your liability protected as well as possible.
Great. And Drew, I have one last question for you. Tell us about a time when you've really gone above and beyond for a client.
Well, I'd like to think that I do that all the time. I had a client that I was working with last year that I had traveled for, and I ended up in Mexico, and I ended up not sleeping for a few days, but I went down there, not on their dime, but to make sure that what the deal that we put together was the right deal, and basically took a lot of time out of my schedule to really get down and understand what was happening and make sure that a deal that needed to be closed got closed when it needed to. So that was one instance, but I think in general, if I'm not going above and beyond just the typical attorney role, then I'm not really doing what I set out to do anyway. So
great. Drew, thank you so much for meeting with me. And if you're interested in learning more and connecting with Drew Whiting, go to fundology.com.